Holy cow! Welcome to another broadcast of Bricks Behind the Ivy.
Hey, Cub fans! Welcome to another episode of Bricks Behind the Ivy. I am always your host, Jeff Candid Cubs Rogowskis, and this is a special episode of Bricks Behind the Ivy. I have joining me from Ballpark Nation and Go Astros, Mr. Jim Christopher, to help dissect the Kyle Tucker trade and give us a little bit of an idea of what we have in for us as he becomes a Chicago Cub.
The trade that is devastating. Apparently, the owner of the team has ruined the franchise. So we're starting from that level of reasonable. But no, thanks for having me on.
Nah, I think then we can commiserate because all our fans think our owner is also ruining our franchise. But one of them might be more correct currently than the other.
Okay, interesting. Let's see. Because I don't think it's ours, so we'll see.
Yeah.
Okay.
But yeah, this is the biggest transaction the Cubs have made in a number of years, and like in regards to improving the team. If you want to talk about big transactions for the Cubs, the not signing of the core and trading the core away in 2021 were pretty significant transactions that have led us here.
And conversely, this is the first trade that was big in a long time that sent away talent or sent away a piece of marquee talent rather than bring a bunch in, which is kind of interesting that's working that way.
Yeah, I think it's interesting too, like just thinking like when both these teams started rebuilds at the same time, like in 2012, both of them built up these prospects. Both of them had like this core team. Both of them had this really Astros way longer than the Cubs, this competitive window. And now like the Cubs have pivoted years ago. The Astros are still trying to like kind of tap dance that line of like they still have a lot of really good pieces. They've got some young pieces. They've got some older pieces. So interesting that these two pair up, like because they have like I feel like this story that kind of intersects in the last few years.
Tap dance is the great way to put it for what the Astros have done. So that's a great way to put it.
Yeah, we get from Jed.
Luckily, they're more Gene Kelly, less me. Tap dancing.
Yeah, I'm hoping Jed Hoyer is a little bit Dick Van Dyke and not.
I love it. All right, I guess we should say Bing Crosby and Danny Kaye for the time of year.
There we go.
Right?
Exactly. I don't think of White Christmas when I hear that. I always think of Christmas Vacation when I think of Bing Crosby.
Totally.
Where do you think you're going? Nobody's leaving. Nobody's walking out on this fun, old-fashioned family Christmas. No, we're all in this together. This is a full-blown 4-alarm holiday emergency here. We're going to press on, and we're going to have the happiest Christmas since Bing Crosby tap danced with Danny Kaye. And when Santa squeezes his fat white ass down that chimney tonight, he's going to find the jolliest bunch of assholes this side of the nut house.
But yeah, let's get into it. So,
sure.
I was listening to a few other Cub podcasts, been doing some research on Kyle Tucker. I've been cognizantly aware of his existence and how good of a player he is, as I am a student of the national game, not just a Cubs connoisseur. But he was an anchor of my fantasy baseball team for about 2 years. Extremely productive hitter. He has at this point close to like a 140 average OPS plus. Which would be the highest OPS plus in the Cubs lineup since Bryant and Rizzo in 2017. So we're talking a immediate injection of something the Cubs do not have, and that's star power. This is a guy that's produced, at least numbers wise, like top 7 in the game since he's gotten regular at bats in 2022. Right. So. Yeah, that.
And Tucker's a weird deal. And I'll start kind of from the beginning because I only start from the beginning on him because it shows you how ridiculous Astros fans are being now. So as you know, I had a social called Let's Get Two. So I was all up in the minors. So I knew Kyle Tucker was from AA and AAA. And the guy rakes. They got a little unfairly saddled by saying he had the prettiest swing since Ted Williams is what people were saying.
Oh, wow.
But it gets up in 2018. He has his first 100 at-bats, and he doesn't produce. And all these Astros fans wanted him, ran out on a rail, and now they are upset with him because he is leaving or he's left. Or they're upset because we traded him. It's a whole thing. But the reality is you're getting a really good baseball player that the Astros just weren't going to be able to sign. I'm assuming much like the Cubs, we are not the Dodgers. We do not have all the dollars or the Mets, apparently. or the Yankees. So Jim Crane has always had a very specific plan for this team, which was no super long contracts. He's actually really been good about high annual value for a contract. It's not that he's not trying to give players their worth. He just doesn't want to play for 3 of their bad years. And I still think the Astros have as much a chance as anybody to sign Bregman. So it really became down to there's a lot of dead money on the books still with Abreu and Montero. You're not going to sign Bregman. Your farm system is bottom of the majors. You have to do something that's going to improve your team now and down the road for the next few years. And I think they've done that. And what you guys get is, I think, an old school scrappy baseball player who also hits home runs, because it isn't just that he hits home runs and hits for a high average. He steals bags. Last year before his injury, his goal was to be a 30-30 guy. And you and I remember when that was commonplace, and then it got super rare, and now it's starting to get commonplace again. So that's what you're getting a guy that's got a really pretty swing and is an excellent defensive right fielder that can also steal bases.
Yeah, and I think for me, especially on the defensive side of things, the Cubs still have Seiya Suzuki. There's been a lot of rumors about him, being involved in trades. There's a lot of rumors that he was involved in this trade. Obviously, that did not end up being the case, but he has struggled defensively in Major League Baseball while winning Gold Gloves when he was out in Japan. So I don't know if he has the yips, but honestly, the Cubs outfield now with Tucker and Wright, PCA, who had led the majors in way less innings and outs above average in center field, and then Ian Happ, 3-time Gold Glover. We can talk about whether or not he's deserved any of them, but that the fact that he has a Rawlings glove has helped significantly in baseball politics. But at the end of the day, the Cubs have really solidified their outfield defense, and they still have a contact-oriented pitching rotation unless they make some additional moves. So I think, to me, that has always been the play. And not to go down a completely different rabbit hole, but with Nico Horner being involved in trade talks at different points this offseason, if you're going to have guys who are throwing, a decent amount of ground balls or allowing the ball in play at soft contact, you cannot afford to lose top end defense up the middle, and you can't afford to play, say, a Suzuki in right field, because when you haven't been scoring runs at an elite offensive level, and hopefully Kyle Tucker can help fix that, the margin for error becomes extremely thin. And that's
ask the Mets, because they had no defense and all they do is throw ground balls. So yeah, exactly. You're exactly right.
Yeah, it's I think the worst defense in the league is on the other side of Chicago. So what not to do.
Right.
So I guess another question I have as an Astros fan, what are the top moments for Kyle Tucker that stick out? And obviously without knowing the player and stuff, how does he come off? How does the media handle him? What should we expect?
That's actually interesting that you asked that question, and I'll take the second part first, is how he comes off. He's not a media guy. He does come off as a bit of aloof. I do believe that he was kind of clear with Astros management that he wanted to test free agency, which is why, even if the Astros lose Bregman, it's clear Bregman would prefer to stay in Houston, all things being equal. I don't know if that's the case for Kyle Tucker, and I don't think that's a bad thing. I think maybe he's just not digging the vibe, but I think that's a little bit that what you got from him. But first of all, the biggest moment of Kyle Tucker's career was catching out 27 of the 2022 World Series. That's always going to be the thing that cements you. But for as much as he's had timely home run after timely home run, it's going to go back to watching him play right field and just taking balls away left and right. And I don't remember how big the right field wall was at Wrigley, because remember, there was also talk he was going to go to the Yankees. And if he had gone to the Yankees, I don't know that anybody gets a ball out of that right field, because of A, how low it is, and B, how good he is. So I think his defense and obviously catching that last out are going to be the things that we think about for him. But also, he was the guy that was coming up with a home run when you needed it. Now, Astros fans who want to be bitter or sort of be a child about the trade will tell you that he doesn't hit in the playoffs. But you and I you and I both know he doesn't hit in the playoffs until he does, right? That's Correct. Such a stupid thing to care about when you're talking about a sport that's based on a big sample size. Let's go ahead and increase it down to weeks at a time. Yes, obviously the Astros expect to contend, and I think are still projected to win the AL West. and they made their team weaker. If this is what rolls into spring training, then yeah, the Astros are not as good as they were last year. But I think if you follow the Astros at all, they have been trading big prospects for trade deadline pitchers left and right, left and right, left and right. Then you're picking at the end of the draft every year. And contrary to popular belief, they actually were punished for the sign stealing scandal, losing their first and second round pick 2 years in a row. Add all that up together, and you don't have a farm system. Yeah. And so one of the things the Astros are looking forward to is the fact that you get a Houston kid coming back to pitch, and we saw with Kikuchi what the Astros pitching coaches are capable of. Like, that's been their run the whole time of, we can take anybody's trash and make him someone's treasure. I'm not saying this guy was trash, but I just like to see a Pollock from Houston coming back to Houston. But if what happens, which I think has a chance to happen, which is actually that it's Bregman back at third, you've just increased first base. The Astros had the worst production out of first base last year. And really probably the last 2 years. So even if you've now got to go find some outfielders to be competent, you've increased in the aggregate the rest of the team. And I do think that makes you better now, but also you don't have to worry about these guys walking in 2026 or in 2027. So I think it's actually a trade in my mind that works out well for both teams, which is very rare that you can say that.
Yeah, and I think like the Cubs' perspective, some folks out there are, unless we sign the extension, this is an overpay. But I mean, you build a farm system and you build this prospect depth to make deals like this. And the Cubs have sat out every big conversation of the last 5 years. Mookie Betts, Francisco Lindor, Juan Soto, Shohei Ohtani, like when they trade Paul Goldschmidt when he was out there for trading, Nolan Arenado, all these things because they wanted to hold on to their poker chips. So, I mean, to me, this is an indication of, like, yes, and the improv rule. Yes, we got we've got Kyle Tucker, and now we're gonna go do this because it indicates. And I just listened to Sahadev Sharma. He's the beat writer over at The Athletic. He had said that some executives were saying, like, wow, it's nice to see the Cubs being the Cubs again, because we had become a butt of the joke. It's like, if you're not going to sit in on these big conversations, what are you doing? Like, you just have this really nice 82, 83 win team that can't really exceed that ceiling because you're missing like that piece that gels all of it together.
Yeah. Well, first of all, what's the cliche? Parades, not prospects. Prospects are just that. My favorite is how irrational some of our fan base has been overinflating the three guys that we sent for Kikuchi. Two of them were technically already in the majors because we had no other option, and they were basically replacement level players. Kikuchi, all he did was went 10-0, had like a 1.5 ERA for those last 10 games. Because we didn't win the World Series, it was a bad trade. One of the things I find curious though, Jeff, is we're always talking about, at least on my show, what used to be Go Astros and now is a whole different thing. And I would give you the name, but we haven't come up with one yet. But it's not like the Chicago Cubs are the fourth most valuable team in baseball. It has to be frustrating that they don't spend like it. Like,
yes.
Okay. Well, there you go. That's the shortest question answer.
Yeah, and I'll expand on that. And I think my audience might know this ad nauseum, but there is some commentary. There's some folks on TikTok, and Joshua Kuznick, ex MLB agent, has been kind of rolling through it that the Ricketts use the Cubs as a Midwest bank. They continue to line their pockets. The control is potentially by the oligarch at the top of the family, and we don't have the flexibility because they see this as not just a baseball team, but like a money machine. And we are a very loyal fan base. And
I guess you're right.
It's tough to know. Like, you went to Wrigley this year, and that was one of the episodes that I was on for your coming show, and then you came on my show to talk about the experience. Like, it's a magical place, and it's easy to get caught. Yeah, and it's hard to like not get swept up in that, and then people come there and just shell out money, and but since the Cubs won the World Series, like, the fan base has shifted so dynamically that there is this impatience, there is this like great frustration, there is this, and I understand, like, yes, the Juan Soto contract is a bad baseball contract. Like, Steve Cohen was not going to be denied. Like, that is what was, but the not have the words Cubs involved is like, it's the accordion theory for me. Like, if you continue to sit out a certain conversation, when you want to sit in it, you're not going to know how to operate. Because like, and that's the thing as a Cub fan I've been the most terrified of is for every guy you sit out or everyone you don't pitch, for everyone you don't know how to tweak the sales pitch, you don't know how to get that deal across the finish line, and you're going to have this disadvantage. And like, yeah, the Cubs have oodles of money, and they don't have the TV problem that other people are having right now because they have their own network. They are now bringing in tons of revenue. They have a hockey game coming on New Year's Eve with the NHL. They have a Frozen Four with the Big Ten. They just had 3 football games. They have 4 football games coming next year. They already have like 9 concerts lined up. Like, that's revenue on revenue on revenue. And we sit here and like penny pinch, and like the early offseason rumors were like Cubs need to dump Cody Bellinger because of his contract. It's like, hold on, we have $50 million before the first CBT. Like, what is that? Like, that's
like, I do think so. The Astros are in a different spot because I think one, because it's funny because you said, because when I went to Yankee Stadium for the upcoming premiere season of Ballpark Nation, which should be out starting in March. I kind of felt the same way as when I was at Wrigley, in the sense of these are loyal fans who are not watching a team as capable as they could be watching, but yet they're still coming. So what is the incentive? Whereas the Astros realized really quickly, if they don't win, they don't make money. And so, and Jim Crane has bigger plans than just the Astros. He wants to build a ballpark village. I was telling you about that, not unlike what Wrigleyville is like. And so it's why I take him at his word that it's not going to be a long rebuild, more of maybe a little bit longer reload. But I mean, to me, it's fascinating. I would say this, though. I would imagine that the Cubs don't make that trade if they don't think it's at least possible that they're going to extend him or at least get the right of first refusal. You did bring up an interesting point, though, since everybody's negotiating with Scott Boras. If you don't do it, because he's a weird dude, right? Like, he's got his own way of doing things. And, you know, when he talks about the Astros, the Astros still being in play for Bregman, that shocks me because he never says stuff like that. Yeah. So, it is interesting you bring up the fact that if you're not used to how to talk to him, he's a weird kind of dude.
Yeah, and I know the Cubs. Scott Boras loves an audience more than most folks, and specifically, he likes when ownership gets involved in these deals. And Tom Ricketts has refused to do so. Mm-hmm. And by default, the Cubs front office has basically refused, in a lot of cases, to negotiate with Boras. It goes all the way back to Chris Bryant and like trying to negotiate a team-friendly deal there. And obviously, he got paid, and you know the jokes are going to continue for years in Colorado after every small-time theft. They're like, Chris Bryant still remains at large for stealing $183 million from the Rockies. But like, he gets his guys like paid, but. Yeah, he's an interesting cat. That's a way to look at it. And I know the Cubs have negotiated the weird deals with him and Bellinger, and I still have like a dark horse theory that the Cubs wanted both Chapman and Bellinger last year, but they wanted them on 2 deals like Bellinger's, and Boras just would not adhere to a team like the Cubs getting 2 sweetheart deals. And like, I get it. Like, that's like, you shouldn't do that. I know
he gave like Altuve. He gave the Astros got a very sweet team-friendly deal with Altuve, but I kind of think Altuve said, "I'm staying in Houston. Whether you stay my agent or not is really up to you."
Correct. Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, I think too. One of the things, I don't know if this bugs you, but it bugs me when fans immediately take the side of ownership without stepping back and saying, "You know what? If ESPN called me right now and offered me the most money, I'm sorry, Ballpark, whatever you are, I'm heading out." So, all of us would do it, but he's a weird guy to negotiate with, for sure.
Yeah, and I think it's just that's one thing that a lot of people have pointed out with Tucker. Is Tucker is not a Boras client, at least that I'm aware of, and people are like, "Well, the Cubs trading for a guy who's a star who is not a Boras client." Maybe this is their wheelhouse. This is what they prefer to do. And I know they have a good relationship with Joel Wolf, who is part of that pipeline with a lot of the MPB players. And like, obviously he made some comments about like what Seiya Suzuki prefers at the winter meetings. And, there was some scuttlebutt about discussion on whether or not he could play right field. But that's the guy that they're going to interact with Roki Sasaki. So like the Cubs seem to like have like this niche that they're trying to entertain, and it seems like they're trying very hard to avoid Boris, but at some point, like there is going to be a player that is with Scott Boras that like they should entertain, and you just can't continue to sit those out. But Boris is the type of guy, if you're going to write the big check, he doesn't care if he's never talked to you. So like that's
that is true. Although I do love the rumor going around that apparently he's done dealing with the Yankees because they really didn't even try to negotiate for Juan Soto. That whole thing's weird, but and it's obviously a conversation for maybe 15 years from now when we see how it worked out.
Exactly.
Yeah, definitely.
Well, thank you so much for hopping on and doing a quick spot on Kyle Tucker. I know I'm excited for the debut of Ballpark Nation. Do you have any updates?
We got a big update actually. So we have officially so basically about the last 3 months I've been doing what we in the indie film business call deliverables, which means putting together all of the closed captioning, all of every little thing that goes into making a show that you don't think about. So we have passed QC. The sales agent has started to sell it to networks. They jokingly sent me an email that one of the networks that's interested is one out of Slovakia. So I guess I'm going to be big in Slovakia. But no, we're still definitely looking for a March 1st release. The Wrigley episode will be the season premiere on whichever platform it lands to. But I should expect some bigger news right after the new year. But we're very excited and pleased with where we are right now as far as selling the show.
Awesome. Yeah, I'm super excited, especially being part of not just the show, but the premiere episode. That's super cool. And I appreciate you taking the time today to talk some Kyle Tucker. Thank you so much, everybody, for tuning in. As always, this is Bricks Behind the Ivy, and go Cubs.
Go Astros.
Thank you for watching another episode of Bricks Behind the Ivy. Make sure you hit that subscribe button. Bricks Behind the Ivy is available for our Patreon subscribers, including Sun Ranto, Danny Rocket himself, and Mike Waller, who are Patreon subscribers. Thank you for your support. Bricks Behind the Ivy is also brought to you by Yagi Road Roasting Company. Why not make the coffee you drink just as special as the moments you drink them in? Yagi Road Roasting. Use the link in the bio to order some of your coffee today. And Bricks Behind the Ivy is also brought to you by Wrigleyville Sports, the best sports memorabilia store in Wrigleyville, right across from the ballpark. Use the code IV10 today. Yes, IV10 to get 10% off at checkout. Until next time, go Cubs!